Welcome everyone to another episode of VV. Not that VV, but double V Virtua Vibes with with Parves and a brother from another mother, Pierre. Pierre, what's going on, man? What's going on?
Episode 4, baby. Episode 4.
Episode 4, baby. And we got the best guest today. What do you say?
After 4 episodes, you're already running out of guests. What the hell's wrong with
we might
the bottom of the barrel. There's no one else free. Let's get done.
I think we might just end it with today's episode, man. That's it. Anyway, guys, everyone, today we have DD, Dougie D, Weapons of Mass, Double D, Doug Dyer with us today. Doug, how you doing, man? How you doing?
Good, gentlemen. How about yourselves?
Very good, very good,
doing,
man.
Doing
very
fantastic.
Good.
Episode 4 should be called DDPP.
DDPP, there we go.
You know the story behind that, Doug? You know what the story behind that is, right? Pierre has been trying to change the name of the podcast for the past, 3 episodes now. It hasn't changed. And nobody's buying into his PP.
You guys haven't put it out to the group. You guys have let the community decide.
You know, there's been one meme though. A Pierre fan put something out on Reddit.
I think using the word fan is a bit of a bit liberal. Yeah, I think it was someone that thought I looked a bit odd in a picture and used it.
I was wondering, do you have a fan club already? Can I join the official PP fan club?
We're getting there. We're getting episode 4, right? We're gonna turn this into a beast.
You never know, man. You never know, Doug. This is a claim to fame. Pierre and Parves. So right. You know what we do, Doug? So this one, I know what this podcast. We don't necessarily have a structure, but what we'd like to do is talk to our friends from the company. We talk about Web 3.0. We talk to you. Talk about stories that people haven't heard. It's just a chat, right? It's almost like Seinfeld, a show about nothing.
There you go.
I would like to add, if you've got shady, dark stories, I want to hear them. So
that's right.
I'll tell you a story. So last time we were talking to Ash to get him on board, right? So Ash came, and Ash said Doug has the most wonderful stories. And I think he mentioned what happens in Korea stays in Korea. Something like that. So you know what? I don't want it to stay in Korea. Me and Pierre would love to know the things that went down. But before we go into all that, man, why don't you introduce yourself? This is your moment to shine, right?
This is my moment to shine. My name is Doug Dyer. Currently residing in the beautiful Czech Republic. Where I go halftime between here and beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. I am currently the token American on the Virtua team. They had to have somebody there, I think, for legal reasons or whatever. So I've been with the company 4 years and some odd months. Feels like 40 years and some odd months. Was one of the first, 5 folks on the team back when we were just a simple virtual reality games company.
Oh, interesting. Top 5. Oh, wow.
I think I was top 5. Yeah. I think it was Jawad, Gary, Keith, Ash, and myself. Although we had a few other folks in there who've left, who've since left. So, yeah, I was one of the early members of the band. Jesus, I'm still here.
Yeah,
been a lot of roadkill along the way, both internally and in the industry. But we're still plugging along, man. Despite some missteps and some pivots and some other stuff that shall not be named. But we're here, and I think we're crushing it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, 100%.
I've been doing video games primarily for most of my career, most of my adult life for almost 30 years now. Like they say, I'm making toys. So, if you're doing what you like, you really don't have much to bitch and moan about when you're making toys for most of your life, or you're marketing them, or, designing them or whatever. So I've been doing that for some time. And, this is a new experience for me though. Web 3.0, GameFi, whatever is a completely different animal. And it's interesting. I think it's going to come. It's like mobile, that's the whole mobile thing might actually take off someday.
No, I was going to say, I know you've talked about other AMAs and stuff like that, but I've not been on those. And I would love to ask you about some of the companies you work for and what are some of the coolest games you've been involved in the past?
Let's see. Microsoft was one of my first ones. I was one of the first, I don't know, hundreds or so employees at Microsoft back in the 90s, where we did Age of Empires 1 and Age of Empires 2. Just little games, but they sort of started the Microsoft games business out. Back in the day, we were, at the time when I started, all they had was flight sim and golf, if you guys remember that. But while I was there, one of the coolest things that happened to me there is that we all had our own individual offices, and we can that's some of the dark stories that, but the 90s individual offices with doors and locks, people having to, work all night. Anyway, and the bottom of the doors had enough room so you could slide a pizza underneath. But the office,
what a perfect working environment that was.
Yeah, perfect working environment. I love it. The office next to me was empty, and then one day somebody they put somebody in it, and it happened to be they had brought him over from Russia, Alexei Pajanov. And if you don't know that name, he was the original inventor of Tetris.
Wow. Okay.
So they had the original designer of Tetris. They had hired him in to do a bunch of puzzle games for Microsoft back in the day. And so he was in the office next door, and he told me about that. Tetris, it was huge. He never made a dime because certain things were going on, but it was very interesting to meet the guy. Yeah. From there, I went to a company called GT Interactive, which at the time was the biggest game publisher. We did a game called Duke Nukem.
Yes, I remember that.
We did Unreal Tournament. We did Quake 2. Abe's Odyssey, Driver. There was a good year for GT Interactive. And then they got
these were all PC titles at the time, right?
They were all console and PC. Yeah, we were doing some of them made it to console as well. At the time, it was PlayStation 1, and then moving on to PlayStation 2. But most of them were PC titles that were doing a lot of their business. And then went to THQ, which at the time was a big game publisher, number 4 in the world. They had WWE wrestling, but I started the mobile business, and this was back in 1999 when mobile was really not mobile. It was like the little flip phones, the first Java handsets, black and white. And we did a game called MotoGP. We did Home Run Derby. We did a Tetris version. But I remember going around and talking to Major League Baseball and Fox getting the Simpsons license and stuff, and showing them these little things and saying, I guarantee you someday
become big.
We're going to be able to play a real game or watch a film. And they're like, yeah, Dyer, whatever, just, sorry, just do that. But I kind of look at it the same way. And this was 6 years before iPhone. So we hadn't had our iPhone, but we still were able to build, $100 million businesses, with just those, we called them feature phones, the old Nokia, remember Nokia and Ericsson and, the Motorola.
What was the Nokia game that was the big hit? Was it Snake? Was that the game?
I don't know. Yeah, it was something like that. It was sort of a snake. Yeah, you're right. It was a snake game. I mean, but God, there again, a lot of roadkill there too, that sort of went along the side. And then iPhone came out and then Android. But I look at Web3 right now. We haven't really had our iPhone moment. I look at where we're at right now as sort of those early days of mobile, except back then I could go out and get the NFL license for $10,000 a year. Try getting that, that right now.
Yeah. Can you do that again, please?
Yeah, exactly. No, back then they're like, yeah, sure. License this, license that. I think we got the Simpsons. That was expensive. It was like $1 million.
Oh man.
But then once we got the license, we didn't realize that the voices didn't come along with it. And we're like, well, wait a second. What are the Simpsons without the voices? Because we wanted ringtones and all that stuff, but we couldn't get the voices, and we're like, oh, great, another story altogether. So yeah, I've had an interesting career. Moved on to Warner Brothers, did some really interesting stuff with there. The best thing about Warner Brothers was I got to meet J.K. Rowling.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
In Scotland, we were pitching mobile for Harry Potter because we had the Harry Potter licenses. So
Harry Potter games, is that what?
We were doing mobile games, and for them, and every year she would hold court, I guess it were, up in Edinburgh, and EA was there, and all the toy companies and everybody. You'd come in and you spend 2 days, and you go in and show her what you plans were and what prototypes and stuff. And I got to sit next to her and show her an early version of a Harry Potter game, and she approved it, and it was it was very interesting. And everybody was like, they're like, okay, one thing you can't do, you can't take a picture with her and you can't get her to sign any of her books. Well, just so happens I was the only one that didn't get a picture taken and didn't get a book signed. Everybody else, I'm like, yeah, great. The only one that actually followed the rules. She's quite nice though. It was quite a thrill.
Yeah, great.
So yeah, it's been an interesting career, and I thought I was kind of done. And then, I get this call, from these guys at Terra Virtua.
Like who specifically?
Like,
who called you?
Actually, it was a guy who started out the company. It was a guy who I knew back in Microsoft days, a guy named Peter Bergstrom, who I think he's still peripherally working. He's out doing stuff, but he was one of the teams, and he introduced me to Gary, which is weird because Gary and I, we've been in the same circles for, decades, but we'd never actually met. Yeah. We know like 500 of the same people per LinkedIn, but we'd never met ourselves. And that was it. I went to London. I met Ash. Yeah, fell in love with that,
the space. Yeah.
That big bald head of an ostrich egg. And then
maybe Pierre, for next time we get both of these guys together, Ash and we start a matchmaking service as well. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very handsome man. Don't think I haven't noticed. No, Ash was great, and these guys had a good vision for everything. And so, someone else who used to be with the company, the CTO, Krish Harani, who was with the company for a while. He was the CTO, and he was there. So we met, and then came on board, and here I am. We're still. I think we're pretty much. I think on the best course that we've been. Again, we had some pivots, we had some hiccups. We've learned from the mistakes. Still learning, but I think we're doing fantastic now. I like to tell people that I'm talking to now, we're probably the biggest company startup stealth you've never heard of. There's a lot of folks out there who make a lot of waves. And I think we've kind of done that on purpose a little bit, but it's great to still talk to some folks in the industry who's like, wow, this is amazing. Look at the stuff you guys have done, and we're like, yeah, well, we're getting there.
And think of the stuff we got to come as well, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, we could leak it. We could all do the Grand Theft Auto 6 thing and start to leak some stuff out there and see what happens.
That's some good PR they've done there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Actually, I don't know. Or maybe not. There's been some kickback, hasn't there, about some of the quality. But it's in dev. It's in dev. So
it's in dev, and people are saying, "Well, you do the art first." No, art and the fit and finish comes way at the end, man. They got a lot of work to do on that thing. So I mean, I think it's.
I'm gonna be going AWOL for about a month when that game comes out.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Yeah.
No kidding. I mean, I would love it. Our metaverse was, sort of like GTA 6. I think I said this on an AMA. I mean, how cool would it be to be able to go into our metaverse and drive around and, shoot hookers and stuff? I mean,
in the game. Just in the game.
Drive around in the metaverse, I mean, that's the great thing about Grand Theft Auto is you guys can edit that out.
I think Pierre, this is where Bruno comes in, right?
It was live. But I said that once, but no, the great thing about it, and this is why Fortnite and Roblox, I mean, you can be the only person there and still have a good time. You got all those NPCs, you got all that, you got all these activities and stuff. And that's what I think, that's how I picture our metaverse to be, this huge, sort of metaverse MMO, where even if you're the only person there, but fact is, if there's so much to do, you won't be the only person there. There tens of thousands. So you could interact with NPCs, with AI characters, with other people, play games, do so many things. And you can't wait to come back multiple times per day.
Yeah.
You've got that. I mean, that's how a really good game is. You can't wait to get back into it. Even as something as simple as Candy Crush or Angry Birds or whatever, you find yourself playing it every time you have some downtime. That's when you have a really successful product, and a metaverse where you can't wait to see people and play stuff.
So GTA is interesting, right? Because I've read whispers that there might be some sort of crypto integration coming in GTA 6. What that is, or if they do it, is another thing, but that's the whisper.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see. I saw something today on LinkedIn about another product. I can't remember that they were talking about some potential like NFTization of certain, of certain, DLC, and when DLC comes down, if it's true ownership. But I mean, true ownership doesn't really matter unless there's interoperability. So, I mean, especially in a game, I mean, what good is ownership? If when the game goes away, you can't do anything else with it, or you can't take it somewhere else. You're no better than, it's no different than Roblox or Fortnite now. But yeah, I mean, look, I look at my daughter who plays Roblox. I mean, to her, everything in her inventory, which believe me is a lot of money's worth of inventory, to her, she owns it. To her, it's real stuff. She can't even fathom the idea when that game, she'll grow out of the game before it goes away. So for her, it will be an ownership the entire time. So I think that, it's up to us to really show that there's more to true ownership of in-game items than just, being able to use them in that game. There has to be that extra amount of utility that we always keep saying. And what is that utility? The interoperability, the ability to give you extra benefits or whatever. I think what we've got, how you can get it from the game into the metaverse back into the game. But then the real thing is, can I take that stuff and take it into somebody else's metaverse? When I can take those benefits and with my, whether it's a VFlect or something else, and take it into Decentraland or Sandbox or Other Side or whatever, that's, I think, where the magic really starts to happen. And again, to me, that's probably when we have our iPhone moment, when something comes that really, really makes this, and people go, holy crap, this is really what mobile could be. This is really what Web3 could be. I think we're maybe years away from have to be here at this point to be able to realize that and be part of that, have a seat at that table.
A lot of these metaverses, right, is all based on gamification, games, playing the basic principles of a gamified economy, so to speak, right? But do you think the metaverse itself, this is just a starting point, or would someone not involved or inclined toward games, would they be even interested in the metaverse?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's a great question. I think that's something that we go back and forth on. I mean, I look at Decentraland and Sandbox, and they say they're gamified metaverses, but I mean, have you been there? Unless there's an event.
Yeah, I've been there.
Companies are putting their things. They still only have they average 1,000 daily active users. Well, that doesn't really make a business. I mean, they did it. They got big valuations, but until you're talking 100,000, like I said, Roblox has 54 million daily active users. I mean, that's mass market, and so I agree. I mean, even Second Life, which believe it or not is still out there. I mean, that's a name out of the past.
Way back.
They have 100,000 active users. I mean, and they're, that's 25 years old. Yeah, I think that's the number. Somebody put that out there. Even still, it's still up and going. Linden Labs, the developer, they're still up and running, and that wasn't really gamified. That was more about commerce, and social. But they really had to build it. I mean, it took them a long time for that virality to get to that point. And so far, the virality in some of the bigger metaverses in our space haven't quite gotten there yet. And I think that there's going to be an interesting, and that's why I do believe that true gamification, I don't see much gamification or gaming in Sandbox or Decentra. Yuga Labs, I mean, Other Side is supposed to be just one big MMO. I think we're more like them, where they actually have stuff you can do with the land and you can mine. So there's real grinding. If you're a gamer and you understand about grinding, if you've ever played World of Warcraft or something like that, you understand, I do this to do this, to do this, to do this. It's called a core loop. You come in, you do this, it helps you get this stuff. It helps you battle and compete, which earns you stuff, which gets you once, and you got this loop.
One thing I want to ask you, Doug, is, do you have any stories from the time how difficult was it like a few years ago when you joined the team, right, to go out and even explain NFTs, partnerships? How would you even begin to explain? I know you traveled to a lot of places, right? But how difficult was that process?
It was hard. I mean, I think we lucked out because most of the people that we were presenting to, we went on the road shows, Japan and Singapore. We went to all the NFT shows that were going on, and we had a great demo. it was beautiful. We had this great sizzle reel, and we were showing stuff that was in our, kind of like what's behind me there, and you could show people. And, but it was kind of tough because we were still schlepping around this big VR thing. I had this huge laptop, and you had the big glasses. And at the time we had the
hand thing, right? Yeah.
Well, you had those, but then you also had to set up these cameras on each side of your laptop because it had to, articulate. It had to sort of do the screen. They didn't have everything in the headset, so it took like an hour to do that. Sometimes it didn't work, and then after we did the presentation, we would, you'd have this big lineup of people that wanted to, come in and play. And we showed them some of our games, but ultimately I would just take that. Remember the roller coaster demo in VR? I would just show them that. I would just have them do that, the one Jurassic Park roller coaster demo or whatever with the dinosaurs, and people were like, woo. It was interesting. It wasn't hard to get people to come in and listen, and we really had a good time. I was with Gary a lot, and Ash and stuff. But it was tough explaining NFTs, especially me, because I didn't know what the hell an NFT was myself. Anyway, I didn't know blockchain. So for me, it was all about, I'm going to turn it over to somebody else to explain this part. And for me, it was mostly about, the growth, about the gaming, about, look at this is high fidelity stuff. This is really, we're really, really putting a lot of effort into this. And it was tough. Again, I go back to the whole early days of mobile, going around with these little tiny black and white handsets showing, stick figures, saying, I guarantee someday you're going to be able to play a real game on this. And people, they acted and duly impressed, but I don't know, if they were.
You're taking me down memory lane, right? I remember when I was at Lego and I was doing gaming PR for a bit, and I had to schlep this game around to all the gaming titles around London. But all I had was a big tower PC, so I had to get on the tube and schlep this thing around and get hot and sweaty. I turned up at these meetings just like.
Exactly.
I don't think we got a lot of coverage that time. I don't know why.
I mean, I had a whole backpack just for this whole setup, and then I had, taking it from city to city. We would do these tours from one end of Japan to the other, one day, one city. It was just, it was brutal, man. It really was. And, but you know what? It was all in the name of, getting this thing rolling. And I think in the end, it helped, put us on the map. We networked the hell out of it. We're people that we met then we're still, talking to and still working with, and had some really, really good relationships. So, it was, I think it was worth it. And now obviously, everybody knows everybody in the world's heard about an NFT. Maybe only a percentage of those actually know what one is, but everybody's heard about them now. A less number of people have heard about Web3. Everybody knows what the blockchain is. Everybody understands what, Bitcoin is. Yeah. And I think it's ultimately going to, it's going to continue to proliferate out. I know blockchain has a lot more applications than just gaming, but obviously gaming and entertainment and stuff are our focus and my focus. I look at 3.5 billion gamers around the world, and I say, you know what, even a small percentage of those, we have a business, we have a mass market there. And so to me, just coming from that world, it seems to me sort of the low hanging fruit. But then again, gamers are notorious assholes and notoriously people who don't believe in anything, and they complain and they whine and nothing's good enough. I mean, gamers are the worst. That's why there's so much pushback against Web3 and GameFi from these guys right now. Why do we need to change? But they hated it when we went to free to play too. I like my subscription model. I want to pay my $5 a month and have my game. And when freemium came around and the whole idea of an in-app purchase as a revenue model came around, it was like Armageddon. Man, it was terrible.
I think that's about how we can add value to their current experience, right? Not going, oh, that's bad, this is good. It's like, well, how can this add value to me? I'm a gamer. I love playing games. I'm not gonna, I from a consumer point of view, I'd want to see, well, what can this do for me as well?
Exactly. No, I mean, when I say that with all love, because I'm a gamer myself. I'm the biggest asshole out there. I mean, I do the same thing.
Are you the one complaining against us the whole time?
Yeah.
That's the biggest complaint we got, Pierre.
I mean, we're the biggest critics. We are the biggest critics, and we go there. But I like this too. And it was interesting yesterday. I was on the thing with Yaka
The AMA, right?
The VFlect Weekly, and it was great with the people there and people who were real fans. And I love this ability to basically include the community in the development, because you get real-time feedback and people can tell you. And plus, this started happening in Web 2 and in traditional games more recently in the last few years, particularly with mobile games, where, early on, we wouldn't, you'd announce a game 4 years early and then it'd finally come out at Christmas of, 4 years later, and then people would finally see it, but it'd be kept under wraps the entire time. 2 months before launch, you'd start to leak some screenshots and then maybe in-game, and then you'd release the trailer and all that. Now it's opposite, Web3, you build the trailer first and then you get the community involved in the actual development. And that creates a sense of ownership. The best thing that a game can do now is have your users and have these people become fans, because then they have this sense of ownership. And by the time you go out for beta, you've got 100,000 people who can't wait to play the beta or the early access Steam version or whatever. Yeah. That's how gaming and game development has evolved. You still have the big console titles or the big, like the GTA 6s or whatever that are going to, because everybody knows what GTA 6 is going to be like. So they're okay to like not leak too much stuff or not show that. But, still it's nice to get to build up that fandom, especially if you have an unknown IP, or you have something that really could benefit from that. And I like that. I like that about it. I like to get the feedback, or, you got 5 designs of a character and say, which one, everybody vote on it. And the best one, and we'll choose one of those who will have their name in the game. We'll name a character after this person or whatever. Those kinds of things it's gold in my mind.
So how was the AMA yesterday? You're a big fan of the VFlect themselves, aren't you? Like,
I am a big fan. I hated them at first. I just thought, okay, no emotion or whatever. But look, they sort of took on a life of their own, and I a lot of credit to the big immersive guys and to the Zemi and everybody who championed those from early on. I do believe that there is, that if we continue to go down this path, that it is our own IP. Having been in companies, particularly THQ, that live and die by the license, I'm a big fan of licensed IP. But if you look at the biggest companies out there, they're the ones who created their own internal IP. Call of Duty, League of Legends, Warcraft. They're not based around WWE or Harry Potter or something else or a movie franchise. They built something internally, and that's what really gives a company value. And that's why I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't put emphasis behind the VFlect as our own IP. I think Pierre is also a big fan. He sees it even beyond me. I like the idea of licensing it out eventually into other media is obviously that's when your IP has made it. When pop culture becomes, when it becomes
Absolutely.
part of that.
That's where we're taking it. That's where we're taking it.
I fully agree. It doesn't really have to start with something big. Back when I was at GT Interactive, which eventually became Atari, or it got bought by Atari. There's a story. This one guy was in a Walmart. Mm-hmm. This was back in the late 90s, and he noticed that in most Walmarts in America, you had PCs, or they sold a lot of guns there. Mm. They had a lot of guns there and everything. And so he was walking around, he was looking at the video games and stuff like that. And one of the salespeople came up and said, what, we just can't sell these PCs. But he said, if there was a hunting game, I think we could put these things together and do this. So we went back and we created this game for about $50,000 called Deer Hunter. Mm-hmm. Crappy little game, little 2D graphics and stuff like that. And then, and what happened is they sold it at Walmart because of this thing. And then people would come up and get the game. And then they'd say, so what do I need to play this with? And they'd go sell them a computer.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And the game was actually developed so you could control it with a mouse in one hand and hold a beer in the other. And so it was simply a one-handed thing, and it was
that is understanding your demographic.
Understanding your demographic. But in the end, the Deer Hunter brand franchise became worth billions. That one game that was selling for $29 when all the other games were selling for $60. This was like $19.99 in the discount bin at Walmart, sold billions. And and not only that, but it sold a lot of PCs for Walmart. So you don't. My point is, you don't have to start big. You don't have to spend a ton of money. You can start from sort of humble beginnings, but if you do it right, and again, like as Pierre says, you understand your demographic and you understand, where you want to go, and you have a roadmap, you can do some really interesting stuff. Yeah, that's a true story. Yeah, it was an interesting time in the games industry back then.
What game are you playing now, or what's the last game you played?
Last game I played, I play most of the stuff with my daughter. We're playing Roblox. I still play Minecraft. We're playing Stumble Guys on the phone. On the PC, I haven't played much. I'm playing around with Fortnite creative mode. Just pretend, doing some really interesting stuff on that. Yeah. Lost Horizons, obviously, some of that stuff. If I get some time, I still go back and play NBA 2K. I'm a big sports guy. Mm-hmm. EA, still play Madden. A lot of classic stuff. I played this, Age of Empires 4, the latest. And but
a lot of games, man.
I wish I had more time.
I was going to ask. So one thing we asked a few people last time in our segment is, what are you doing during your downtime? But it looks like you play a lot of games.
No, I don't play a lot. I wish I could play a lot more. I don't have a lot of downtime.
Are we working you too much?
I hang out now. I probably don't work enough. I'm hanging with my kiddo. She's a sixth grader, so it's getting to that age, sixth grade, going on 11, going on 25. So
I know that feeling.
Keep her from too much shopping, because she's really getting into the shopping. Man, I got to work more.
We can ask Joel for all of us.
Yeah, there you go. Some more stuff. Yeah. That's right. This has been an incredible journey, and far from over. I think we're just starting. I think we got a long ways to go. I think everybody who's at the company agrees with it, and I think that I think we have a tremendous community. I think the community is one of the best. I think they're loyal, and I'm, you go back to the VFLEC thing, and I really look forward to. I know we've been talking about this. The folks who have bought them in the past and who are collecting them and all that stuff. Things going forward, be really nice to find and to move forward on some of the ideas that we have internally about rewarding these people, for that loyalty. Whether it's the VFLEC or other NFTs and stuff. And as we move into the Metaverse phase of the company. I'd say, stick with us and because I think it's going to be well worth your time and well worth your while.
Yeah,
100%, man, 100%. So, Pierre, should we? What do you think, man? It's a good segue to the end of the show where you do your bit. do we have anything from? Do we have suggestions from the community? Last time?
We don't because at time of recording, episode 3 is episode 3.
This is episode 3
not out yet.
Yeah.
So we don't have anything from the community this week.
So what do you say, Doug? The end of the show is always a bit by Pierre. He goes, scavenges and finds the best dad joke he can from the internet, and he tells it to us.
The dad joke.
Yeah, and last time we had a few bits from the community who gave us some good jokes. So Pierre, man, all over to you now. Go ahead. Make us chuckle, make us laugh.
I don't have a joke.
What?
But I have something better.
Okay.
I've dug through the archives and pulled out an extract from my favorite philosopher, the Deep.
The Deep.
And I'd like to share with you his latest musings today.
Okay.
This is the best one to date, right? This is the best one to date, right? This is from the Deep, right? If you poop in an elevator, you take your shit to another level.
Oh my God.
There you go.
I love it.
Oh man, that guy. Huh? When is the next season coming out? Do you know?
I don't know. Yeah. I think they're shooting it at the moment, aren't they?
Ended. Yeah, they're probably shooting it now.
Man, their Twitter feed is nuts, right? It's so active, and there's just stuff coming out of the account all the time. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's very good.
Well, Doug, man, thank you for joining us. Wonderful talking to you.
My pleasure.
Really
Anytime,
good
gentlemen.
stories, and you know what?
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
I think there's Pierre. I think there's more stories in Doug we can actually dig out. Haha. And we definitely should have a part 2. With you again.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Maybe
do
bring
it.
Ash on at the same time, and we can.
That would be a
chaos.
blast.
Chaos.
Right? That'd be a blast. Me and Pierre will just sit back and enjoy the show, I suppose.
we can see if we can make Ash cry. So
I'm already worried about next week. We've got Gary, our chairman, booked in for next week.
Oh,
And
nice.
I have no idea where that's going to go.
That can go off on many tangents, right?
sure.
So I guess, guys, thank you to everyone, and from all of us, till next time. Bye-bye.